It's like 3 in the morning, September 2nd. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I just had a cool melody in my head. Almost like Phantom of the Opera again. Cross the ice in the sunset. Cross the ice in the air. That's the basic melody. Cross the ice in the air. Come inside. It's on the highway. That's all I got for now. I'm gonna call this song Crossing Eyes or Cross the Eyes. Maybe Radiohead kind of influenced this. But it's got the Phantom of the Opera type of music that I used before in some other songs. But it's kind of cool. I'll try to think of other stuff later. I think that's all I'm going to think of right now. Maybe it gets heavier and heavier from there. It's September 3rd, 2025, like at midnight right now. I was going to make a playlist for September, but I kind of gave up on it. And then I did come up with a weird kind of melody yesterday, so I was trying to develop a new part to it. And I had an old recording from a while ago, just to give you a display of how my songwriting goes. So last night I came up with like a Phantom of the Opera type of thing, which the first part of this recording will display that from last night. This one I just came up with based on the recording from months ago, probably. And it goes. And the reason I think it's cool because it'll be like two different tempos, two different time signatures. The other part of the song goes like a Phantom of the Opera. And then it will go into a different, almost a different song. And then you can make another transition back to the dun 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 dun. So that's where the singing would be. So this is a pretty typical song that I would write, and the process is pretty clear. This is how I put songs together, pretty much. This is more in line with how I was doing it for the last 20 or so years, where I just go back and try to find different parts from different recordings, and that's how I make my songs. I'd say 90% of my songs are written just like I'm demonstrating now. I'll come up with something and then I need a different part, so I go searching through old files. In 2022, when I did this, it took me like 4 or 5 months to do it every night because I had, hundreds of files to go through and stuff. But this is basically the process, and to even make this more of a demonstration, I'll stop this recording now. I'm going to go back and find another audio file that I think would fit pretty well. And this one I just picked at random. Sometimes there's no method at all. I'm just like, alright, I'm going to make these 2 audio clips work together. And that's when it's cool, is because I'm not thinking too much. Once I start overthinking what I'm doing, that's when I get like either frustrated with my stuff or it feels like a boring process. But I don't know, it's kind of cool just to pick 2 random things that I thought were cool and put them together and make a song like that. So I'm going to stop this here, and I'll make a part 3 where I pick another one to maybe close the song with a different melody. All right, so what you just. All right, this is still September 3rd, 2025, like 12:20 in the morning. And like I just was saying, I went through some of my recordings from September of 2023. I just said, well, let me see what I was jamming on back then. I don't remember it at all. It's 2 years ago, almost to the day. And I found one that sounds pretty cool. I put that audio file from 2 years ago into Audacity, which is just a free MP3 editor pretty much. But you can record stuff and input multiple tracks and kind of create music demos like that. It's a free service that's pretty cool if you never heard of it, Audacity. And I was able to find maybe a little 4 to 5 minute snippet of a cool riff or acoustic part, and that would probably close this song, or I would go back to the beginning and close it like that. That's just how my process works. And then this is what I did in 2022 for over 400 songs. It's not exactly the process I was doing because I kind of was in that mode already. Like, I was making albums as I was going, kind of, especially the 2020 and and later albums post 2020. I would come up with some stuff, record a bunch of jam sessions, and then try to put together albums. There was a lot of albums I ended up canceling, deleting, I mean, and they just didn't work, or I had to combine them together because so many of the ideas were stupid. But yeah, I might come back to this idea in a week, a month, a year, and be like, yeah, maybe this isn't working, and change something. But this is like the origin story of this song, I guess, of Cross the Eyes. I came up with a melody last night. I went back in time to try to find something from, I don't even know, the second part of this. I'm not sure what date that's from, but maybe a couple months ago I came up with that. I thought it was a weird time signature, but it's really not. But it is a tempo change that I like. And now this third part that you just listened to is from 2 years ago in September, when I just had a couple days in a row where I had long jam sessions with my acoustic. And I listened to maybe 3 or 4 other files, and this one was more interesting than the other ones. And that's basically how it goes. I don't think it's that unusual, but I figured it'd be cool to share a look into my process as I'm doing it, and why I'm trying to do my Kickstarter, because I'm in my 40s. If I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it. Number two, I can't make a lot of noise in this place. I can barely do this. Like, I'm talking kind of lightly, but it's probably still people hearing this stuff. So I can't do stuff in this place. And, well, I'm either going to get paid or I'm going to get evicted in a couple days, or tomorrow. I don't even know when. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm probably going to get evicted soon, within a day or two, if I don't make the money I need to pay my back rent and this whole thing is done. And yeah, I got no other option at this point but to just keep doing this. I keep telling myself, like, I don't need to prove myself to other people, but I'm just trying to demonstrate why I'm doing this project and what a home studio would do for me. It gives me the freedom to explore anything at any time in the solitude of my own piece of America. And I've never had that before. I've either lived with friends, my parents, or in this apartment for the last 10 plus years. And it doesn't give you any freedom or independence or privacy. It's a big problem, especially for an artist and the stuff I'm trying to do. So I was able to do this because it's not like I'm playing music or anything, but in reality I could have made this into a song with the electric instruments and pedal effects, shoegaze effects maybe, and figure out some percussion on like African drums, because I'm just going to try to use African drums instead of a drum set. I'm kind of like in that mode right now. And hopefully I can come up with something cool. It would add something different than just normal cymbals and bass pedals and stuff. So that's the direction this song would go, and there would probably be limited lyrics. I don't know if I'm going to try to write lyrics for this because I'm kind of out of ideas at the moment in terms of words. I don't know what to write about. Not that I really ever did. But I wanted to just take people into an exploration of how I do this. This is what my 2022 life was like. I would wake up at 7 in the evening, eat, and I would stay awake till about 4 or 5 a.m. and just go through hundreds and hundreds of audio files from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. And it was a weird process, man. I was still eating cooked food back then. I remember having this frying pan, and every night I would just make apples, like fried apples with oats. And eventually I think I was like, like the frying pan was like really old, and like the metal was starting to peel. I was like, this is probably unhealthy. So I think that's when I went like the raw vegan style right after that. I threw out my one frying pan because the metal was like peeling off, and I'm like, I'm probably ingesting metal right now. And yeah, I think I went raw vegan after that. Technically, I still drink hot coffee, and the only thing I've eaten for like the last 2 months is like oatmeal with coffee with apples and banana, and some beans and chickpeas and stuff like that. I was also eating tofu for a couple months, but now I'm out of the tofu and peanuts or hazelnuts. So I'm trying to keep it to the raw vegan diet, but I do drink hot beverages, and I use hot beverages when I make these meals. And yeah, it's interesting because this was my process for literally like every night for like 5 months, and that's how my book got written. My Substack page got started, and sometimes I just go night owl. Right now, I've been in this night owl mode for almost the whole summer, I think. At least since July. Once my fasting ended, I fasted for 6 or 7 days, and then I was like not doing much at that point. I was trying to do a vow of silence, but that failed. The reason I broke it was the Dolly Parton song that I was just talking about yesterday. I came up with that melody, and I think that was the first song that broke my vow of silence. After that, I started talking more. It's hard to do, man, and especially because I'm trying to promote myself a little bit. Like, I'm trying to promote myself. I can't do that unless people hear me. So I can't really do a vow of silence. And I just thought it'd be cool to try to do this again. This is basically how I would approach my songwriting in the future. I want to go more instrumental approach, so I don't have to make words anymore. The problem with words is I feel like people take stuff out of context, and people try to get meaning that's not there because whatever reason. And yeah, that's the point of art. Everyone's going to interpret something differently, but sometimes it's like a nefarious thing, and I get paranoid about it. The reason I wrote my book like I wrote it, like I said before, was so people can't do that, because I wrote 400 songs. That's a lot of lyrics, and I wanted to be clear what kind of my backbone is made of, I guess. Morals, ethics, the bad shit I've done in my life, my thoughts on religion, politics. I try to keep it honest as possible. Sometimes I just talk myself into contradictions, but whatever, man. Like, I'm an idiot just like anyone else. But yeah, I want to go instrumental because of that. You don't have to worry about words and language and different meanings of words and all that complicated poetic stuff. Like there's an intriguing angle to that, but it's also annoying and too political, and it gets kind of stupid. So eventually, ambient music, electronic music with very limited lyrics, and just focus on creating healing melodies and stuff like that. That's where I want to go in the future, but I still want to record as many songs, as many albums as I can. And yeah, that's going to take a long time. I have like 50 albums, and it's going to take a long time to get it as good as I want to get it in solitude in my storage container home that I built into a home studio somewhere out west. So yeah, that's it. I'm rambling, but that's the main point of this, to give you an idea of what I'm doing and how I'm putting these songs together. And it's not a science to it. It's just random selections that grab my interest and be like, all right, that fits pretty cool. That fits pretty cool. It gives it a different way of writing music because these little audio files are from 2 years apart or whatever it was, and it's kind of more interesting to me to write a song like that. I don't know if other people feel that way. Like, I feel like if you're actually in the music business, you have a record label, you feel more pressure maybe to put out songs and put out albums, and maybe you kind of force stuff sometimes. Maybe my approach is more freeing and more fits my mellow style. I don't know. There's no, like I said, there's no science to what I'm doing. I'm just searching for cool little parts. Like this, the third part of this, it was like a 30-minute jam session that I had. And I just kind of cut it into a 5-minute part that I thought was interesting. And yeah, we'll see. Maybe one day this song will become something, and people who are interested in the process, trust the process. People who are interested in the process can go back and read my Substack post, listen to these audio files, and see what I was doing. And yeah, for myself too. But that's all. That's all I really wanted to talk about.